Slime Rancher now is a multiplayer mod, so obviously I had to speedrun it. I decided to invite my friend SmallAnt, a person who has never played Slime Rancher in his life, to do some speedrunning with the sole purpose of beating world record. But before we could get that world record, I needed to teach SmallAnt how Slime Rancher speedruns work, so I'll explain it here as well. Now to beat the game, we need to explode 5 Gordos by feeding them a bunch of food, making keys pop out of their abdomens, and we can use those keys to open locked doors throughout the map. So we start the speedrun by running over to the pink Gordo, picking up 30 food on the way, and giving him the quick, oops, my bad, only kinda meant to kill you. Then we go straight from our dead friend all the way over to the first locked door. It's pretty much just a bit of running between this, so not too important, but once we open the door, we can enter the moss blanket. But these door openings also have long animations, so we can use some slimes that we collected and repeatedly step on their faces, so we climb up this wall instead. Don't worry, they love it. It's still important that we open this door though, because opening 5 doors is a requirement for the credits. Anyways, after that, we'll run to the entrance of the moss blanket, take an immediate left, and run to this area where we want to collect a few mint mangoes and feed them to the honey slimes until we have 4 honey plorts. Then we run through this cave thing and pick up 4 boom slimes. Finally, we just need to collect 2 Q berries over here before taking this convenient teleporter back to our ranch. This section is important since now we can quickly grind out all the money and fruit needed for the rest of the run. And to do that, we plant 1 garden here and place a mint mango. Then we shoot our 4 honey plorts and boom slimes in this corner, sleep for 2 nights, and they make us a bunch of valuable plorts which we can sell. Now the amount of plorts we get is kind of random, probably because the multiplayer mod makes the game act a bit strangely, so sometimes we get our money in 1 sleep cycle and sometimes it takes a few. But we can use that money to buy a jetpack, dash boots, and upgrades to our power core and tank booster. Then we also want to plant 2 farms for Q berries and 1 for pogo fruit. Except we forgot the pogo fruit part of this practice run on accident, so we replaced it with another Q berry one. Next we want to launch 3 of our largos into the ocean and keep 1 stuck in this little crevice so he won't eat any food. But we will need him later. So with that, we can sleep for 2 more days, collect a bunch of Q berries and mint mangoes, and go back to making progress. We want to run back out in a similar direction as last time, but stop around here to pick up a rock plort that you can get by feeding a carrot to a rock slime. Then we'll run for a bit until we reach this cliff, drop down, and find the Phosphor Gordo, who we'll feed Q berries to and get the second key. We also want to make sure we pick up a phosphor plort as well before stepping on some more slime faces and jetpacking back up this hill. From here we run back to the entrance of the moss blanket, but this time instead of just going in, we climb this wall and jetpack across the water. This puts us by some tabby slimes and hens, so we can use those to get the tabby plort and enter our second locked door. Now it's time to put our 3 plorts we collected in these kinda weird looking statues. Because the second requirement for beating the game is to get 6 specific plorts in the respective statues to open a very large door. So that puts us halfway there, but before we go back to the ranch to get the other 3, we want to run back through the moss blanket until we reach the honey Gordo and feed him our mint mangoes. But then, this happened.
It's either 25 or 30.
I give him 9.
Okay, yeah, it's probably 30. Oh, it just produced 2 keys. That's
perfect.
We just got 3. I don't think that was supposed to happen.
Yo, skip? We can just go through the next door?
So yeah, that was weird, but we'll test it out later. Now that's key number 3, and 4 and 5 I guess. So we can emergency return back to the ranch, which will drop all of our items, but keep things like keys and money, so it's some easy fast travel. From there we want to sleep a couple more days, upgrade our power cores and tank boosters another time, and collect a bunch of mint mangoes and Q berries before setting off with the Gordo we stuck over here earlier. His name is Ted, by the way. And with Ted we want to do some unintended platforming to climb these rocks and fly across some more water, before another mistake happened.
Once you have 200 stamina...
It jammed me into the water.
Oops. Okay, normally we'd have Ted with us this whole time, but we're just gonna do some backup strats for now, don't worry about it. At least this also made me find an easier jump to do instead, and yeah, there we go, water cleared. So we start running from there and pick up some replacement Gordos on the way, since rip Ted, before doing this trick. We need to jump, shoot the Gordo on the ground to gain height, and jetpack up this ledge. This is definitely one of the harder tricks in the run, but SmallAnt got it pretty quick. So with that, we're in a new area, and we want to get some rad plorts from these rad slimes by feeding them a vegetable. After that, it's time for some more wonky platforming up this cliff and a jetpack jump over some water before finally running into a cave and opening up the 3rd door of the run. This puts us back in the giant door area, so we can shoot the rad plort in this mouth and feed Ted a Q-berry to get both a honey and boom plort. You know, if we still had him. So instead, we went on a long journey, but finally came back with the plorts and got the big door to open. We're now in the ancient ruins. From here, it's some pretty basic platforming until we get to the fourth big slime of the run, the Quantum Gordo. And we would normally take another innocent life, but we had all the keys we needed with that weird glitch earlier, so I guess you can survive for now. We do still want to collect 5 plorts from some quantum slimes though, before running to the next locked door, opening it, and putting these plorts in these last few statue guys. This creates a huge teleporter, and now we're in the glass desert. This is the final part of the game, and it's pretty much just a running simulator. We do have a cool trick in the beginning though, where we use our jetpack to fly to this platform, and then jump from there to the Dervish Gordo, where we'd normally feed him 50 fruit. Except, we don't need to. This key thing is so strange. But from there, we go through the 5th door, run through a bunch of buildings, and finally make it to this message that we click on, ignore, and emergency return. All that's left now is sleeping and reading any mail that comes up until we get the credits and end off time. So that's the 1-player speedrun, but now it's time to figure out how to optimize it with 2 people. The first idea we had was to separate the beginning of the speedrun. While SmallAnt would feed the pink Gordo his food, I could run straight to the locked door, and since we shared keys, I could still open it once I got there. Then while I got all the things from the moss blanket, SmallAnt could constantly sleep and read all the mail, so my stamina would always be filled up. But since the slimes would reset with the passing days, as soon as I made it to the mint mango area, SmallAnt could stop sleeping and pick up the pogo fruit that we needed for our farm. You know, the one we forgot about last time. Then we could speed up the money collecting as one of us could sleep and the other could collect plorts. Oh yeah, this also sometimes caused the big slimes to multiply, so that was kinda weird, but whatever, we just continued to do this, buying up upgrades and farms along the way. Next we played the game like usual, getting our next key and inserting the first 3 plorts by the big door before trying to test out the Honey Gordo trick. We theorized that if we both shot our fruits at the Honey Gordo at the same time, he would always produce multiple keys. And it actually worked. We weren't able to somehow get 3 keys though, but even consistently getting 2 could be a nice time save. We also tried seeing if we could get extra keys with other Gordos, but it didn't seem to work, and that was a bit disappointing because of our next time save, getting all 6 plorts at the same time. To do this, after grinding, SmallAnt could get the rock, phosphor, and tabby plorts, while I carried Ted to get the rad, boom, and honey plorts. This saves a huge amount of time since it's much less backtracking, but we couldn't both get to the honey slime using this strategy, so unfortunately, we decided against it. But even so, our route was insanely quick. All we needed to do after the big door was feed the other 2 slimes and collect their keys. Then it's just a bunch of running. And since we really only needed 1 person doing that last part of the run, SmallAnt was able to continuously sleep and read mail, so I would constantly have stamina. And our first real run with this new route resulted in a 14:40, only 2 minutes and 6 seconds away from world record. So we started grinding the category for a few hours, getting our time lower and lower, but still just a bit too far away from beating world record. And this is probably a good time to explain why the world record is so fast in the first place. See, the strats we've been doing are hard strats, but the world record contenders are on a whole nother level. There's this strat where you continuously jump on and suck a poor slime to cross a river in the early game, this one where you do the same thing but with a box, and this one where you use Ted to go over the big door as it's opening, so you don't need to wait for the opening animation. That's also just to name a few of the hard things in this run. And you know, the world record holder also has generally insane movement, and it takes a lot of time to get that good. We were determined not to let that stop us though, so we grinded a bunch of more runs until finally we reached our last chance, because we've already spent like 5 hours playing this game and SmallAnt had a dinner to go to. And this run had a really good execution. We both played exceedingly well, making very little mistakes. The only problem was the farming. Like I said before, how many plorts you get from the magma honey slimes is pretty random in multiplayer, and each extra cycle needed usually wastes around 15 to 20 seconds. Unfortunately, this run took 2 cycles. We also got even more unlucky with Ted glitching out and refusing to give us our plorts for about 15 seconds, so that wasn't great. Still able to beat world record, but it's gonna be close. So we absolutely played out of our minds, hitting tricks first try and having really good movement. But eventually, it all came down to the end.
12:46.
48. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we lost. We ended up being 12 seconds slower than world record. But we beat world record for version 1.14.4, let's go!